Okay, so we just did the triangle setup for the cosecant of 5 pi over 4. Now I've got the triangle, but I still haven't done like the actual answer. And I'm not even going to do cosecant. I'm going to do which function? Sine, because sine is the sister function. And then the sine of it is opposite over hypotenuse. So it would normally be -1 over root 2. So I'm going to put that except upside down. Raise your hand if you had that one right. Okay. Now, how about if I don't tell you the angle, but I tell you the sides? In other words, somewhere, in fact, there's 2 spots, sine of some angle is -1/2. There would be 2 different triangles you could draw for that, and therefore there's 2 different angles where that's true. Don't think like, oh, it's 60. It's not gonna be that simple. Once you figure out where that triangle is, let's say it ends up over here, the angle is the whole thing. All right. Draw the triangle. Check with the kid next to you. Pause for a second. Let me give this a try. Okay. I'm going to put these up here, and I was kind of surprised that a lot of kids didn't know what they meant. They maybe even knew the dumb little all students take calc, but they didn't know why I was writing that down. Can you explain for me why I'm writing those down? Exactly. Sine's negative in certain places. So what does the A stand for? All. What does that mean? All of them are what? Positive. And in this, what does the S mean? Sine is positive, and therefore all the other ones must be negative. Okay, so these are the 2 spots that are out because those are both places where sine would be positive. And I know it's negative because of that. All right, so then I can draw my triangles. Here's one. And sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Okay, so opposite side is -1. Wait, what? Oh yeah, it's over here. I was thinking hypotenuse. And the other side's 2. And if you ever get confused because like it seems like the hypotenuse should be 2, it never is. Then the other side must be negative. You know what I mean? Like if I had thought the negative was down here, it can't be. The negative can be down there, but the actual hypotenuse can't be negative. The hypotenuses, hypotenusae, whatever they're called, they're always positive. All right, so 1, 2 square root of 3, and this side's negative also, and then, yay, I figured out what angle it is. It's a 30, and kids write down 30, and I have to mark it wrong, because 30 is that's where 30 is. So if it's not 30, but it's related to 30, next thing I want to give you a chance to do is if you wrote your angle in degrees, change it to radians right now, because every answer will have to be in radians on this test. Hint, pi over 3 is 60. What's 30s? This isn't just 130, but it starts with that. What is a 30 in radians? Pi over 6. That's 1/6 pi. So then this whole angle here, 7 pi over 6. And again, you get through all that work and even remember to do it in radians, and it's still wrong. Why would I get this wrong? There's 2 answers. Where's the other answer? Yes. And the answer for it is? All right. And I feel like it's 11 pi over 6, but I'm going to check. Would you agree that this part is pi over 6? I think we're both on the same page on that. Okay. And then I would think of it this way. If I go all the way around, that would have to make 2 pi, which is the same thing as 12 pi over 6. So that makes me think when I back off this one, it's going to be 12 pi over 6, take away 1 pi over 6, 11 pi over 6. That makes sense? If you wanted to count them up, you'd get to here and you'd be at 6 pi over 6, and then you could count up some more. And it's 7, 8, 9 pi over 6. 10 pi over 6 would be right there. This is 11 pi over 6. All right. So there's 2 answers. 7 pi over 6 and 11 pi over 6. Yes. Good question. The directions on these almost always say your answers have to be between 0 and 2 pi. And I'm going to do something that helps you remember how this works. One's in parentheses, one's a bracket. Do you get that brackets are the ones that are okay? Like you can use 0, but you can't use 2 pi, right? And then by doing that, do you get that not allowing any negative numbers? Because I can't go past 0, so I can't go in the negatives. So you don't want to give negative answers for these. Now I know we studied that, we did. That's called coterminal. But on these problems, they're going to specifically say, I only want you to list the answers between 0 and 2 pi. If you go crazy with it, you could actually give a million different answers because you can get answers bigger than 2 pi because you can always add 360 to whatever your answer is. Or you could have answers that are negative, or you could have it in radians, you could have it in degrees. So anyway, here's your two answers. And never give negative answers for these. It'll say it in the directions, but just get used to that. Okay, yes? Okay, let me think. So I think I'm at 11 pi over 6 right now. And the way I'm going to test it is, would you agree that this side here, and this side here, and this side here are the same as these three sides? It's just that they're kind of like mirrored over there. Okay, so then this side's -1, and this side's √3, and it's not negative now because it's going to the right, and this side's 2. How about that? Would you agree with those numbers? Okay. Then this, would you agree that the cross from the 1 is where the 30-degree angle is? Which, and since that's 30, is that the same thing as pi over 6? Pretty sure it is. So I'm just 1 pi over 6 short of going all the way around. Is that the part that's bothering you? Or are you just trying to, did you try to memorize the unit circle and therefore you thought that the unit circle numbers, okay, just so you know what the unit circle numbers would be right there. If you want to look it up later, you can. The unit circle numbers would be, if I want to make this into a unit circle, I'd divide everything by 2, and it'd be like that. And then I'd have the x of it would be √3 over 2, and the y of it would be -1/2. That's what's on that spot. If you want to check me, if you think I'm wrong, you can. I understand that. Go look at a unit circle and see if this spot isn't that. I'm pretty sure it is. Okay. And then that's 11 pi over 6. Okay. So let's do another one like that, except this time you're not going to recognize the triangle. And I know that's kind of strange. Sine of some angle, I don't know, is 1/8. You've never found out the angle for that, and you won't need the angle because now I'm going to give you more clues. Tangent of this angle is less than 0. And with those clues, you can draw a triangle in the right spot that has the right sides. And I've said this before, if you get the triangle drawn in the right spot with the labels on the right sides, then it'll be easy. Because the question is, what's the cosine of that angle? Cosines are easy to do if you'd show me a triangle. So draw the triangle in the right spot. Hint, you'll know 2 of the sides. You'll have to figure out the third side because it's a right triangle. All right, this is the toughest one I've done so far. I want you to, for the last few problems that we do, we're going to have a partner. So these 2 rows slide over next to each other. Except for today, would you move up here, please, so that you have a partner? All right. And would you move over here so that she can have a partner for today? And these 2 rows slide next to each other, 6 inches apart. These 2 rows slide next to each other, except for today, would you move back here so she can have a partner across from her? I'm going to just do this. Make sure you're not drawing them there because sign has to be positive. So therefore, you have to be in one of those upper spots. Okay. I don't like how I drew that. I'm going to try that again. Okay. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. And there aren't any negatives on this yet because in the up direction or the radius, neither one of those is going to be negative. So we're good. All right, let's hold on. Okay, now this is not the unit circle. So it can be an 8. You have to understand the side ratio is 1 to 8. Oh, okay. All right. And yes, you're right. It can't be an A because tangent is negative. And tangent wouldn't be negative there. So you're right. That's up. Okay, so now if I have a 1 and an 8, what's this other side? Square root of, right away do square root of. And then it's 8 squared and 1 squared, which is 64 and 1. And now the only question is, do you add them or subtract them? If it's the biggest side, you would add them. Here, we subtract them. So final answer, that's the square root of 65. And it's negative 63, just like I said. Sorry. All right. And then, final answer, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. There it is. Negative square root of 63. Sorry about the 65 mistake there. Over hypotenuse 8. There we go. Negative root 63 over 8. Whew. Yes. You do add them, but only if it's here. Let's say this is 1 and 4. I want to find the third side. I go square root of, and I always say the two things squared. So this is 3. Let's make this a 2. 2 and 4 could be reduced. So let's make this a 3. 3 squared, 4 squared, and then you decide whether to add or subtract. The reason you would add only in this case is because I have the longest side here. On that kind, you add them. If I'm doing either one of these two sides, those aren't the longest sides, so then you subtract. Okay? All right. So next kind of problem. So many kinds of problems. Let's shift gears into, did we do one with like cosecant? One of those alternate functions? All right, let's just remember which ones are which. So if we did cosine, and I wanted the sister function for that, secant, very good. Okay, what will be the cofunction, or no, sorry, what's the sister function for tangent? Cotangent, all right. So then let's do cotangent of negative 30 degrees. This one should be fairly easy. See if you draw the same triangle in the same spot as your partner and figure out the answer. All right. There's negative 30, although I should be more like that. All right, so say I got my triangle all drawn. Mr. CA in the back, tell me, how do I take these numbers and turn it into cotangent? Yeah, what's the bottom line? How do I answer this question? I got the triangle drawn right, so you can trust that part. Now what? Do I find the tangent first? Okay, so tell me what to do. Okay, tangent. Tangent is TOA, right? Opposite over. Oh, question or comment? Okay, thank you. Dang. Really, I'm glad you asked. I am frustrated because this is, I'm not thinking right now. It really is difficult when you have an accident and messes with your head. I had one where I wasn't at fault, but I couldn't think at all. I got hit from behind, and it totaled my car. And yeah, I got slammed by somebody. Again, it totaled my car. There's glass all over the place. I got up and I was like, what? Like, what should I even do? I actually know insurance. I do insurance. I knew what I was supposed to do, but I like couldn't think. Throws you off. All right, so I'm not thinking well. These two are what I would do for tangent. Would you please talk me through tangent of that angle? So therefore, so tangent of negative 30, which is what I'm going to start with, negative 1 over root 3. Good. And then why did we figure that out? I mean, the problem was to find cotangent, so tell me what to do. Flip it over. So final answer? Yep. You can put it over 1 just to show people that it flipped, but you wouldn't have needed to divide it by 1. Question on that? Yes.
Why don't you divide by 2?
Why don't you divide everything by? Okay, so you're assuming that this is on the unit circle. Does it have to be on the unit circle? Doesn't say anything about how it has to be on the unit circle. Now, if I divide everything by 2, just bear with me for a second. Imagine that I did divide this by 2, and that by 2, and that by 2. And then that means everything I have here is going to be divided by 2, divided by 2, divided by 2, and divided by 2. Those divided by 2s are just going to cancel anyways. So at the end, you're still going to have the same answer of negative 1 over root 3. It just would have had, you know, it would have taken you a little more canceling of negatives to get the same thing. But, okay, so you can have them. I know you might be thinking, I memorized the unit circle, and so I'm going to use that, and that's okay. You can. But those are actually more complicated than the triangles because they have like a divided by 2 everywhere. All right. So, judging by how much trouble we had on that one, I better do one more like that. So this is going to be secant of negative pi over 2. And don't find secant. Find its sister. Figure out where negative pi over 2 is. And in this one, you can't draw a triangle. So if you can't draw a triangle, why? Why can't you draw a triangle? Because you must be in one of those 4 special spots called quadrantals, which are in between the quadrants. You're on one of those. Hint, here's regular pi over 2. That's not where you are. You okay? All right. Yes. Can answers be undefined? Yes, the answer can be that there's no solution. but not saying that is in this case, but there are problems where that's the answer. All right, so we're down here. How many of you knew we were down there? Raise your hand if you knew that was the spot, okay? And then if that's the spot, that's something comma something. It's 0 comma negative 1. Raise your hand if you had that part right. Okay, then the last piece is this really secant? Nope, don't do secant. Do the sister function, which is cosine. So cosine is the x. Okay. Now, would you agree that that's kind of 0 over 1? Agree that 0 could be thought of as 0 over 1? So then when we flip it, we have 1 over 0. And can I just leave it that way? No, because that is undefined. So there is no solution. Would it be negative? Just because the angle's negative doesn't mean that the answer is negative. The angle being negative just tells you where to go. So it would not be negative. So the final answer, good question. Do I want it to say no solution or undefined? Technically, it's undefined, but I would have accepted either of those combinations. You could say no solution, or you could say undefined. Either one's okay. All right, that was a tricky one, I know. But at least you should have known that it was cosine that you should really find first. And then don't forget to flip whatever that answer is. And since cosine came out to the x, so that was 0, how do you flip a 0? 1 over 0. Okay. Now, some stuff we haven't done for a long time. If that and that curve are all 10 meters long. Don't say it, please. Figure out how big must the angle be. Well, this is something you should just know, but I only did it for you once. If you can't remember it from that, you could remember it from this. That's the formula that you'd use. That's the answer that's the angle in radians, which we don't know. That's the radius. And what's that? I call it the SARC because it's S, but it stands for the arc. That's the arc length. What's the arc length in this problem? 10. This curvy side here is 10. You can measure things on a curve. It's kind of strange, but it's true. So 10 equals theta times what's the radius? 10. So then what's theta? 1 what? Radian. That's 1 radian. Do you remember that it's a little less than, how many degrees does it kind of look like? 60, and it's a little less than that. One less than that. It's about 59. So it's about 59 degrees. 1 radian. All right, that was a weird one because it was 1 radian. We don't usually use 1 radian. All right, so try this one. Does this look like about a 45-degree angle? So that I was going for. So then if I tell you that that's 8 and that's 45, then how long is the radius? Hint, use the SOHR formula, S equals theta R. And I didn't tell you the radians, but you can figure it out. Pause for a second, let me try that one. Do I know the arc length? That's what S is the arc length. That's why I call it the SARC, because S is the arc. We do know that, don't we? It's 8. 8 equals theta times R. But do I know one of the theta or the R? I must, otherwise I can't solve it. Which one do I know? Theta. And theta is not 45, because you have to do it in radians. So theta is pi over 4 times R, and then you just have to solve for R. I don't like having fractions, so how do I deal with getting rid of a fraction? Times both sides by what? 4. 32 equals pi times r, dividing by pi to get r alone, 32 over pi. Now, what is pi? Don't forget, that's 3.14. So this is actually just 32 divided by about 3.14, which really is about 10-ish. And just look at perspective-wise, doesn't 10 seem about right? This is about 30 divided by 3 is about 10. Okay. And 10 seems about right for this. I think I better do another one like that because there was a lot of confused looking faces. Let's do one more like that. 60 degrees. And this is a radius of 5 inches. Then how long is the associated arc length? How long is the arc length? There's a formula for that. If you tilt your head back long enough, it falls into place. A weird thought. Do you know that there's crystals in your ears that can be thrown off by how you tilt your head?
Wait, is that why when I tilt my head back as I still think of it? Vertigo.
What?
Vertigo. That's when vertigo is rough.
Oh, vertigo. Gotcha. Yes, yes. So my sister had vertigo. She was like, felt dizzy, like just like all the time. And the crystals in her ear had gotten misaligned. Sounds like seriously like science fiction, but I'm telling you, my sister's a nurse and she's not like, you know, she wasn't messing with me. And I've heard it from other people too. You can YouTube it if you want to. If you tilt your head just a certain way and then another certain way, all of a sudden those crystals can like click fall, like they're actually crystals and they actually will move and they can get out of place and they can go back into place. And she said it was like magic. She just got her head tilted at just the right angle and tilted at the other angle and poop, it fixed it. So you can also tilt your head funny like that and have your crystals get misaligned and all of a sudden be dizzy when you are done tilting your head around. So you do it long enough, you are going to misalign your crystals and you'll be dizzy and sick. All right. All right. So did you know that S was, I don't know, and did you know that the radians was pi over 3? How many put pi over 3? Please say. A lot of people. Okay, good. And then the radius was 5, and so then it's 5 pi over 3. And if one kid turned to the other and said, that's the answer, they'd be like, that's an angle. No. Sometimes these aren't angles. That's a side length. Oh, for Pete's sakes. 5 inches. Five inches. Okay. All right. Then the last melon. Last one we're going to practice together today. And you do have homework. It is a rare and precious review sheet. This is one that I am borrowing from a colleague who made this review sheet, and I've already posted the answer key for it. So the same deal, you can do them and check them and see if you're doing them right. And it's a review sheet that you will turn in tomorrow. I strongly recommend doing it. So here's the last one. You ready? The last one is about rotational motion. And if I have a circle and it's like a tire from a fat bike and it's 30 inches across like this, and the fat bike has really big tires and it can go through snow and they're kind of cool. It's become a thing lately. I don't know how any of you guys actually own a fat bike? Nobody in here? Okay. So the tires are like way wider than normal. Not like even like a mountain bike. We're talking like 4 times as big as a mountain bike. And then that allows you to go over snow and up, you know, and do mountain biking with it, and you can go on regular roads too. It's kind of bumpy on regular roads. So, all right. So here's my question. If there's a little nail stuck in my tire right here and it goes around and makes a click noise every time it hits, you might think it would just deflate the tire, but actually on car tires in particular, if you get a nail stuck in your tire, it can just stay there and then it just like doesn't even deflate your tire. Now it might in the long run, so they usually want to fix it. If you ever notice you have a nail in your tire, you should get it fixed. It's pretty cheap. They just put in a little rubber piece to fix the little piece, like a little plug. But anyway, this nail would go around over and over and over again, and it would be pretty annoying on your bike tire. So let's say that you counted the clicks, and over 10 seconds, you heard 12 clicks. Can you turn that into miles per hour? I'm going to say that one more time. The nail clicked 12 times in 10 seconds. In 10 seconds, not it is 10 rotations, you're right, but I'm going to say it's in 10 seconds. Just wait a second. So would you agree then, if I times that by 6, that would be 72 rotations. I'm timesing this by 6. Okay. In 1 minute. 72 rotations per 1 minute. This is what they do when you're taking your heart rate, for example. They don't measure your heart rate for like a full minute because it's a little uncomfortable to have somebody pressing against a vein for a full minute. So then they usually do it for like 30 seconds, either 10 seconds and times by 6, or 30 seconds and times by 2. That way they get 60 seconds. Same idea. We did 10 seconds and we got 12 clicks in 10 seconds. Times by 6 means you got 72 rotations per minute. And hint, since one kid noticed, he said, Mr. Server, you said there's no calculator for this test. How on earth are we supposed to get the answer for this if there's no calculators? You're right. All you can do is set up the equation. Okay, so I will be looking to see if you have all the right things to multiply by. So hint, you want miles per hour at the end. And if I want miles per hour, I got to get rotations to cancel and I got to get minutes to cancel. The minutes is the easy part. There's 60 men in 1 hour. Yay, I got miles per hour. No, I don't. I got rotations per hour. How do I get rotations out of there? Well, what is one rotation? One rotation, that's the hard part. You guys figure this out and make sure you know that this double dash thing, that means inches. Then you'll have inches per hour. And then, isn't there some number that you have to memorize? 5,280. 5280. 5 tomato, yes.
Don't you dare.
What is one rotation? It's one circumference, and a circumference is pi times the diameter. Pi times the diameter, what's the diameter? 30. So pi times 30 inches. Rotations canceled. Now I got inches per hour. Getting there. 2 more little factors. All right. What are those last 2 factors? How many inches do I know? What do I have about a fact with inches and feet? 12 inches, 1 foot. Okay, inches canceled. Now I got feet per hour. Then 5,280. Cancel, cancel. And I would have to check through and make sure you had 12 times 5,280 on the bottom and all of those things on the top. Because you won't have a calculator, so you wouldn't actually get a final decimal answer. All right. Now, what I'm going to do is put these on the table. I know we've run a little long. So grab one on the way out the door. This is due tomorrow. And the answers are all posted already on Schoology. Have a great day.